Say she wants some Marvin Gaye, some Luther Vandross, a little Anita, but definitely set this party alright. Oh.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Love, Marriage, and Everything in Between Countertop Talk. I'm Shan.
I'm DTP.
And thanks for joining us.
Episode 10.
Episode 10.
Thank you everybody that's been supporting the channel. Please click subscribe. So, we always start with like an icebreaker before we get into things. So,
yeah, we do.
This week, what is one of your pet peeves when going to a restaurant?
Bad service. Bad service.
Okay. What's bad service look like to you?
Well, first off, if I come into your establishment and you don't speak, that is violation number one. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just a lack of appreciation of a customer, so no greeting, no pleasantries, no warm welcome, and, energy. Okay. If I come to your establishment and I feel like, not special or, that's not somewhere I really would want to go back to. Or I might walk out.
Okay. Cool. For me, what you think mine is?
I don't know.
Waiting on a bill.
Oh.
I hate that. So, sometimes I find it's like soon as our food come out, I'm asking for the bill because I hate when we're done and you're looking for a waiter.
You do hate that.
Yeah, I hate that.
Why do you hate that so much? You just ready to go after
I'm just ready to go. But I feel like a lot of times at restaurants these days, waiters just aren't available how they used to be.
What do they be doing? Because I heard they be in the back on the phone.
That's possible. But I know for me, when I'm done, when you're done, because usually I finish eating before you. Mm-hmm. And when you're done, your drink is gone or whatever, I'm ready to go. But then, you gotta wait for them to take your card, come back. That could be a few minutes. So I'd say that's my biggest pet peeve.
Yes, that's true. So how was your week?
Week was good.
Anything exciting happen that you want to share?
Nah, nothing really, man. Business is good. The team is good. So, no. How about you?
Well, we are pre-recording this, okay? Mm-hmm. So Father's Day is coming up, and I'm looking forward to Father's Day.
I'm excited too.
I always love celebrating you. You are a great dad. And
appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. So I'm looking forward to kicking it with you. I know you love just having a vibe.
Are we going to go live on our channel Father's Day?
If you want to. It's
We've never went live. That would be something.
Yeah, if you want to do it, you know me. I'm just, you're the extrovert. So if that's something you want to do, we can do.
I'm just about new experiences, so.
And I'm down with that.
We'll try it. We'll see what happens.
I'm down with that.
Tell me how the vibe go.
Okay. And to all the other fathers out there, great dads, I hope you guys have had a great Father's Day, because once you see this, it will have already passed. So just wishing everyone a safe Father's Day and well wishes.
Big shot. Happy Father's Day to all the dads. I know we get a bad rep, but it's a lot of great dads in the Black community. So big shout out to all the men holding it down with their fatherly responsibilities.
Absolutely.
So what's on the docket? What we got?
So something that I wanted to talk about, since our channel is Love, Marriage, and Everything in Between, mm-hmm. I think it would be good for us to go over the top 3 reasons why marriages doesn't last, okay? And I feel like we can definitely provide some insight since we have been together over 20 years. So that's what I want to talk about. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the top 3 reasons, mm-hmm. you said that you wanted to talk about basketball. Yeah. You love basketball. So.
Yeah, because we weren't seeing eye to eye earlier. I sent you an article about Division I universities are now going to be paying their players directly. Mm-hmm. And I was saying that's huge. So you felt like the NBA needs to counter that in some way. my opinion, was that is actually going to make for a better brand of professional basketball, because with a lot of these young men and women, well, I don't know if it's just for men, but let's just say men for now, if they become millionaires in college, for some of them, their interest may dwindle far as going pro. Because, I mean, we're starting to hear a lot now about, in your basketball mom, a lot about athletes being burnt out, the passion for the game, American players versus European players. So
Right.
why do you think the NBA needs to counter that?
Well, I think that this decision is not a good look for NBA. Okay. Number one, the viewership for NBA is already down. Okay. So you're about to have these high level college players not pressed to go to the NBA. There's no need to. They're making money and good money in college. So that's number one. Number two, we are already seeing the trend of players from overseas getting drafted like top 5.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's going to be another factor. So if you have a lot of your American top athletes staying in college, they're going to be pulling more players from overseas. And that's really going to impact the viewership because, you know, people want to see these college players that they have known since maybe high school, college. We want to see them in the NBA versus somebody from overseas that we're just hearing about on draft night.
So look at it this way: it's those top players are still gonna make it. I mean, if you're a top player, you're just delaying. But however, like Cooper Flag this year, he didn't delay. He's going into the league. But for me, I feel like if your motivation to be a professional basketball player is to get the bag, and you're able to do that in 1 to 4 years being in college, you know, I feel like those that are, you know, declaring for the draft, you're going to get a better product because these people, obviously, if they're declaring for the draft, in most cases, the top pick, I would say the lottery picks, they're already millionaires. So they're not pursuing to play at the pro level for the bag. They've already acquired the bag.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but I mean, you're saying it as if they're not going to, like, we're only going to see European players. Like,
No.
trust and believe, those top players are still going.
No, I'm talking about viewership. Okay, viewership declining. That's it. So
Yeah,
I'm talking about viewership declining. I mean, who wants to see, you know, a whole bunch of players, you know, that they haven't followed their journey? And I think that's something exciting about the NBA is that you have followed these players' journey. So during draft night, you're excited. You know, I watch.
But you still want to see those players, babe. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying, I'm not saying you're not going to see the players. What I'm saying is that you're going to see the players eventually, but they might not all come out at the same time. They may be scattered. Look at the last draft that we just had. We had an unprecedented amount of foreign players that were drafted for top 10.
That's going to continue to happen, but you better believe the Cooper Flags, the Ace Baileys, the top names that people are aware of, those one and done guys, they're going. But for me, and maybe we just agree to disagree, I just feel like it's going to be a better product because if you are declaring for the draft, it's a passion. And I think nowadays you see a lot of players that, you know, hey, they have to go pro to support their family. And I take my hat off to them. But the passion may not be there. But if you've already acquired the bag in college and you're still declaring for the draft, not saying it's not about more money because they will make more money over on the NBA, but there's a passion. And that's what we want to see as fans. We want to see more passionate players.
But that's one of the reasons why the viewership has declined because they said the passion is not there with the NBA players and it's more passionate for the college players. So that's one of the reasons why the NBA viewership have went down because the NBA players, they don't play defense. they're playing like they don't really have anything to play for because they're already multi-millionaires. So that's one of the reasons why the viewership had went down already.
So, I mean, that's a good point. I think something else, and I'll end it here so we don't go over time. We're going to see a lot more, because you're starting to see a lot of stories.
Did you just say, well, end it here? So, like, after you speak, we going to end it?
No, but I know that you know that I could talk about basketball all night. So I want to be respectful to your topics.
Correct.
So, well.
But I'm going to give you that.
Rebuttal if you choose. I'm just saying, this is the last thing for me. Let me say that, okay?
Okay.
So for me, I think we're going to see a lot more. You're starting to see more stories of players that have went and became pros unconventionally. So you're going to see those guys that was maybe a 3-year college athlete, transferred schools for 3 years, never was on the radar, wasn't recruited in high school. They're going to get an opportunity now to really show out. And those stories, to me, I actually love those underdog stories. I love an underdog player. So that's my 2 cents. But we do need to have an episode one day about AAU too.
Yeah, but will that equate to viewership, increased viewership?
Yeah, because you're telling these people's story. This person worked at a Walmart, continued to play the game, it was one guy you heard about that was last year, and I don't know his name, but he had some legal issues, and he continued training, and he's back at it, and he was actually drafted in the summer camp last year. So, want to hear more of those stories as a fan of the game.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see. I mean, I'm a big basketball fan, and right now we're watching the finals with Indiana and OKC. I haven't really watched a lot of OKC games or Indiana, to be honest, but
like most people,
it's good. They're playing defense. They're playing hard. They're
right.
sweating, so it's been good series for me as a lover of basketball.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll go through our top 3 reasons why marriages do not last. Okay, so we're going to start with number 1, and we'll just give our take on it.
Okay. And you found these through your research, right?
Yeah. It's like we don't have enough time to really do a top 5, but
right.
This is the meat and potatoes. We took the top 3.
Okay.
Now the top number 1. You know what? Let's do this. Mm-hmm. Let's do number 1 last. So let's start with number 3, number 2, then number 1 for last.
Following your lead.
Yeah, number 1 is the highest percentage. So number 3 is financial issues.
I can see that.
Yeah, so number 3, financial issues. So just to go over some advice with us, financial issues. We had some financial issues in our marriage, and it didn't cause any conflict because, I was still working.
I was in the financial industry. I wasn't.
Yeah, and it was a big thing with your job that you was working at the time because it was. Do you mind if I say the name?
No, we ain't giving nobody no free press, but you can say the industry.
Well, the mortgage industry with the subprime issues, people were just laid off. Mm-hmm. So you were impacted. It was a big deal because your income was like 75% of our income. So we really had to change a lot of things.
It wasn't really that though. That was the beginning. And then remember the recession hit. So banks stopped lending. I went from residential lending to commercial lending. And you're right, I was laid off from that subprime lender. But then when the recession hit, remember banks stopped lending money. So a lot of deals that were on the table, we couldn't fund or we couldn't finance because there were no banks that was really giving out money unless you had very, very elite credentials such as 750 or above credit score, $50,000 in assets.
Yeah, but you wasn't working.
Correct. Yeah, but I wanted to say it wasn't the subprime. It was eventually that layoff. After that layoff, remember, I went to be a broker. And then from the broker, I went to commercial lending. And that's when, by that time I transitioned, is when everything came to a halt. So why do you think that financial issues?
Well, financial issues, I mean, it's hard. I mean, when you're under pressure, you're not able to pay the bills, it's easy to point the finger at one another and blame one another while you're in the situation. So my advice during financial issues, you really gotta lock in with your partner and figure things out together versus being at each other's throat. Okay. And that's, you guys are married, you have a happy marriage, and then something like the other partner get laid off. So that's my, I would say, foundation for that. However, if you marry someone and they already had bad credit and financial issues, that's like, you don't want to do something like that. So before you do get married, you definitely want to make sure that your partner has their finances in order. And if you do see that they're doing things that say like, this might be a issue in the future, you definitely want to address it before you get married. What's your thoughts on that?
Right, I agree to a degree. I want to go a little deeper. I think with the financial issues, if financial issues can break you, in my opinion, you weren't meant to be together, because
I disagree with that, but go ahead.
I'll tell you why. Because as you said, that is something where you really want to hunker down. I mean, when I was playing daddy daycare and I wasn't working, I mean, we was loving more than ever. I mean, I felt like that was some of our best years when you were bringing in the income. I couldn't get a job. But I feel like that's when you really see what both of you are made out of, when things are worse, because it's easy. Think about it. When your finances aren't right, it's easy to find a problem with anything. It's easy to look at things from a negative perspective. So I feel like now there's a backstory to everything now. I'm sure there are financial issues that are worth separating from a partner. Like if someone is mismanaging money and they continue to mismanage money, or someone has a gambling problem, or their priorities aren't straight. But I'm saying overall, if you come across a hardship, and in every marriage you're going to come across a hardship, that's the time to really lock in as a union and figure it out together. I think with us getting married so quickly, when that recession hit in 2008, when we went through that turmoil, we had every excuse to break up. Because, I mean, things were tight. I mean, we went through all of our savings, but we chose to work through it. And I think that's because it was more than finances with us. It was never about finances. It was about our friendship.
So what advice would you give to someone that's having financial issues within the marriage to preserve the marriage? So what advice would you give?
I would say let's look at how we got there, right? Some things are uncontrollable. Some things are controllables. But if you love someone, I mean, you want to go through that with someone you love. But I would say figure out what triggered you to get into that situation. Think about what you can do better. Take one day at a time. You can't look at, I had this, I had that. I was able to do this, I was able to do that. Take it one day at a time. Here's what we can do differently. And you build that thing again, brick by brick.
Mm-hmm. So what's your thoughts on joint accounts versus separate accounts?
I mean, joint accounts, I'm old school. I think that's the way. I had people in my life that were saying keep it separate, but I feel like if you're going into a marriage already separated, I didn't want to perpetuate that. So for me, I mean, I don't have a problem. If you love someone, if you're married to someone, I want to lay it all on the table. This is what I have. This is what you have. Let's bring it together, and then let's build our portfolio accordingly. But I'm not with the separate anything. I mean, separate is in separation, right? And we don't want to get to that.
Right. Okay, DTP. Okay, so number two, the second reason is going to be infidelity.
Oh, that's easy. I mean, You weren't ready. You weren't ready to be married, dog. I mean, it's just sometimes it's in you. You know, sometimes it's in you. If I get that. I mean, that wasn't the number one reason?
No, it's not the number one. I actually, before I started doing research, I thought that would be number one, but it's actually not number one.
But let me say this for you, so at one point, marriage was cool. It was like a fad. I would say like 2005 to like 2012-ish. It was like a thing. Like people getting married. Then you started hearing about people having these grand weddings. You started seeing it on social media. So yeah, I could see infidelity being up there if you got married for the wrong reason, or you just aren't into being with one person. And there's some people that just, it takes time to get that out your system.
Okay, well, I look at infidelity issues a little bit different. You know, infidelity, okay, like you said, sometimes it's just in a person. If a person is a cheater, they're a cheater. And if that person is a cheater, you already knew they was a cheater before you married them.
Not really. How you know somebody a cheater when you...
Tendencies. If somebody is a cheater, it's a high probability that they cheated before you guys walked down the aisle.
But they're not showing you that. Like, they're not coming clean like, hey, I cheated on you 8 times, let's get married.
That's not how it happens, Dwight.
You said you can see it, though. You say...
Yeah, so if you've been with somebody for 10 years, as an example...
Before being married.
Before being married.
Okay.
Okay, and within that 10 years, this person then had a what they call a work girlfriend. You done caught them in situations where, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
A work girlfriend, you done caught them in situations that they're sending text messages or inappropriate DMs to females. It's just behaviors.
Yeah,
behaviors
absolutely.
are there, but that doesn't mean that you break up. You know, maybe you love this person. Maybe you think after you get married, things are going to change. And a lot of times, if it's in them, like you said, it's in them, those behaviors are not going to change. They may settle for a little bit, but they're going to reemerge. But you also have the dynamic of a different type of person. Okay? So what if you have a scenario where you have 2 people, they love each other, they happy with each other. However, something happens in the relationship, and that something happens is maybe the other person is not giving the partner the attention that they need, that they desire. They don't feel seen, and this could be a 2-way street. This could be with the female, this could be with the male.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they're seeking attention outside of the marriage. You know, you may have a great woman, you know, but that woman feel like, hey, she's not seen, or she feels like, okay, she's just there to cook and clean and tend to the kids. You're not spending time with her, you know, so she's seeking, you know, where she lacking. Yeah, and the same thing with a man. You know, I heard on the radio the other day where it was talking about a scenario where a woman was withholding sex from her husband, okay? And because of the withholding of sex, that husband went out and cheated. He never cheated before. He wasn't a cheater, but he cheated because she was withholding sex. So remember they was talking about that on the radio and getting people's point of view on it. So those are situations where you getting married, the partner did not have tendencies of, you know, being a cheater, but things happen within the marriage which causes a woman or a man to go astray.
So they should get grace in those situations, you saying?
I would say you have to assess the situation. Now, at my big age, I'm not going to sit up here and say, hey, something occurs like that in our marriage, I'm done. I'm gonna have to assess the situation. Now, if I was in my 20s, I'd probably be like, oh, no, nobody's gonna cheat on me. I'm not dealing with that. You never know what you're gonna do until you're in that situation.
True.
Being wiser now, I would never say that, oh, I'm not dealing with something like that. Now, I know for a fact I ain't dealing with no serial cheater. You know, I'm definitely ain't dealing with that. But if something occurs, just being transparent, where you feel like you're not being pleased, you know, and you go elsewhere to get pleased, I would have to do a self-assessment on myself. And I think a lot of times you do have good men out here that make the mistake of cheating because they're not communicating with their wife. And let me just finish.
And
Hold up. Let me just finish up here.
okay.
Because I want to use what we heard on the radio. When the wife started withholding sex from the husband never had a conversation with the wife. Okay? He went out and did his own thing. So you have to communicate with your partner. You know,
Absolutely.
you letting things, you know, fester. So what were you going to say?
I wasn't saying women too. Two-way street.
So that's what you was going to say,
Yeah.
women too?
Yeah, but I mean, I understand what you're saying. Communication is definitely key, because if your partner doesn't know what you are suffering from or what you're feeling you're missing out on, is no way to fix it, you know? And that's why I think it's important to continue to court that person. Like, I still think I court you after 20 years. I think you still I know that you still court me after. You still do a lot of the same things, and that takes humility, because I know when we were younger, we were both like kind of
Arrogant.
very arrogant. But you know, you realize that I'm never going to be too arrogant to think that I can't be replaced, even though I know I can't be replaced, but arrogant enough to say that I can just do whatever and you'll be okay. I still want you to feel like you're seen. I still want you to feel like I tell you every day I love you throughout the day.
You do.
You do the same. And I still like surprising you with things, you know? So as long as you're doing that, having that communication, hopefully infidelity doesn't creep into your marriage.
Yes, and if it do creep into your marriage, communicate and figure out how you guys can reset, because somebody make a mistake, and even though infidelity is a major mistake, it doesn't mean throw away the whole marriage, you know. So counseling. We talked about that last episode.
And having the right friends around you too, because you will
Yes.
have some people around you that will give you advice that they are not in a position to give you, or it's not coming from a good place. But that's another episode.
Okay. All right, so we're at number one. The number one reason, the top percentage of why marriages does not last, and that is a lack of commitment.
But that seems like number two, because if you have infidelity issues, it's a lack of commitment.
Yeah,
So what's the difference?
That is part of it, but lack of commitment, doing my little research, you know, lack of commitment is anything far as committing, like you said, to time, still courting your wife, still, you know, courting your husband, doing the things that you used to do, you know, spending time with them, communicating with them, you know, so that is part of commitment to marriage. So, go ahead.
No, so it's like, I guess when people are married for so long, they just like tapped out. It's just like we're married.
Yeah. Well, I know something that my grandmother used to always say: you have to keep a man full and empty. Okay.
Right.
So that's something that she used to always say. Now, you may been with your partner a long time, and you may not want to keep him full and empty. You may not feel like cooking all the time because you're working full time, or you're taking the kids to, you know, basketball, football, or your daughter, you know, the ballet dance.
You don't have help.
You don't have the time. You don't have the time to keep somebody feeling empty, and then when you get home, you're tired. Okay? So you can't commit to the things that you used to do prior. And let's be honest, before you have kids, before you bring kids into the ratio, you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of time. But once kids come into the mix, things are different. As a female, speaking as a female, things are different. You have a baby, can't wait till the baby get there. And once the baby here, you have postpartum. Okay, you're dealing with issues. You may not feel sexual. So it's a lot of different factors.
That one confused me a little bit, but at the same time, I guess when you look at lack of commitment, because a lot of people stay in a marriage because it's cheaper to keep it. And when you're talking about the people that have been in a marriage for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, or it may not even be that long, but you have kids together, you have a business together, you have accounts together, I think that is probably, in my opinion, where the lack of commitment comes from, because you're like, look, I'm here because I have to be here, which is, that's, hopefully nobody's going through that, but we know people are going through that. Then that's a very, very tough situation, because you're stuck. You're stuck, and you're in it not because you love someone, but you're in it because being out of it could be catastrophic. That's a bad place to be.
And one of the examples that they gave far as lack of commitment is spending time with your partner. So I look at that as being major. You see a lot of times, you see people, when they out, they might be out by themselves. Whereas though with us, we get the charge. Y'all always together.
Always together, right? But
we get that charge.
We do, and but a lot of our couple friends are like that too. We're like, I love being with you, and
but before we started hanging out with our couple friends, be for real. That used to be the tagline. Y'all always together. Now we have a group where it's we found other people that's always together.
Right. But I think, when it goes back to that foundation, that friendship. Like, you my slime. That's, everywhere. I'm in it. You in it with me, and we trip. We're husband and wife.
Yeah, we have a good time.
But at the same time, we have fun together all the time. So that's easy. Like spending time, that's easy. Let's do it.
This is so funny. So today we took our youngest son somewhere, and he asked me, he said, are you ready? And I was like, yeah, let me see if your father's ready. He said, why both of y'all gotta go?
That's how we roll, though.
Yes, that's how we roll. It's just like clockwork. Hold up, babe, I'm coming with you. Yep. Hold up, babe, I'm coming with you. Oh, babe, I'm about to go walk the dog. Oh, wait for me, I'm coming with you.
Yeah, we can't get enough time. Outside of taking out the trash, you with me. They see me, they gonna see you.
And that's why we can't stay mad at each other long, because we're so conditioned to always be around each other. So when we do have a little beef, it's just like,
who gonna give in first, really?
Oh my gosh, like my partner, I can't call you when something happens.
Can't send you something funny from IG that we may have saw.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
so we gotta make up quick.
We do. That's funny. But yeah, you're right. That that lack of commitment kind of confused me, because I feel like it's in line with infidelity. But when you break down time, and what else you said, it was
spending time with each other. Not doing the things, courting that you did prior to the marriage.
Right.
Gave some other examples. Let me see here, because I shared your same concerns. Like, that's kind of like
the same thing.
Yeah, infidelity. But they were saying no. Avoiding future planning. It has down here like, not want to commit to say, okay, we need to have a Roth together for our retirement. The other partner don't see the vision. It also says here not having the same goals. Okay.
That's a problem. If you don't have, like, I never understood when you have someone, two people married that have two different religions. I don't understand it. But I mean, when you start speaking of those, it makes sense. I mean, but if you're not,
and it says last minute cancellations,
and you will have situations, and I know in my field where usually when I speak to women, when I speak about life insurance, I'm talking to the woman first. So I don't know about that as being like lack of commitment, but usually men don't want to entertain that conversation of like the investments, retirement, life insurance. Is usually spearheaded by the women. Not saying all men, but in most cases, it is the woman that will initiate that. So I just think it's a matter of
I want to just say that's definitely a good example of lack of commitment. That's a good example.
I don't think so, because a lot of guys are in a mindset of, I'm getting to the bag, I'm getting the bag. They not really worried about a life insurance policy. I'm not saying it's cool, a life insurance policy, putting away for retirement, but I don't think that's a lack of commitment. I just think I don't got the patience for that.
That's still a lack of commitment, boo. Like,
How?
because if you're,
Break that down to me.
if you have your lady, your wife, she's having tough conversations about life insurance. Life insurance is not, one size fit all. So if your woman is having these conversations on her own about her, you, and the kids, that's a lack of commitment. You're basically leaving her out, leaving her for dead, like Mama D said.
We're going to have to agree to, I think that's a lack of interest.
And that's a lack of commitment. Just because you're interested in something, you have to be a part of it. And if you're not interested, you're not a part of it.
So I'm going to throw a couple friends that we have, not their names. We have friends who are a couple, and they have life insurance with my agency.
Okay.
It started with the woman, and we know that he is committed to her like no one else. So I don't think that because a man is not engaging. Now, if your man got you taking his car to the shop to get rotors and brakes and he's comfortable, that might be a lack of commitment, because he's like, you figure it out yourself. But most men, I'm just saying from my field and my experience.
I disagree. I'm quite sure with any woman having to deal with that on their own because their man says they're not interested, that is an example of lacking commitment. As a marriage, you have to do things that you don't want to do. I mean, you don't want to take your kids to practice at school.
I mean, that's a little different. That's a little different.
It's not. That life insurance is major. That is a major conversation to have.
It is, but at the same time, a lot of men are at different places. If you got somebody that was in the streets, you got somebody that was incarcerated, or you just got somebody that is, they got it, they're an entrepreneur and they got it from the ground up. They were never talked to about life insurance. Most people are fearful of what they're not aware of. And I'm saying this from my field. Like I have spoken to a lot of people and families that have gotten life insurance, and initially those men reluctant to not being a part of the conversation and coming in at the end is that they're not comfortable talking about it. So I understand what you're saying about like children responsibilities, but when it comes to things like high level conversations, again, I think a lot of times most men, our ego is like, we're getting the bag and you get it. It's not saying don't get it, but it's like, I don't want to handle that. I'm gonna handle the contractor coming out and making sure that he fixed the closet door that's broke. I'm going to handle taking your car back and forth to the dealership at 50,000 miles, 75,000 and 100. Those things, I wouldn't say that part is a lack of commitment. But hey, that's me. That's me.
Yeah, I mean, have the right to your opinion. I'm just saying that's what it says here. So I mean,
That's what it says there.
yeah, I
Who's
mean,
right? Okay.
yeah, I'm just saying I mean, you have the right to disagree. You
Why don't
know,
y'all comment in the comments of what y'all feel about lack of commitment? But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I see it. I'm not,
yeah.
I believe you.
So also they have here, last minute, cancellations. So important dates. Important date could be, an appointment with the insurance agent. Okay, you cancel at the last minute. So things like that. Lack of commitment. Anything that the one partner deems important and the other partner may not deem important. So it's a lot of things that you may find important. I'm going to show up just on the strength of you.
Yeah, we've done that. We've done that, but I don't know. That's a tricky one.
Okay. So I mean that's the top three. So number one, lack of commitment. What do you guys think? Leave something in the comments.
Yeah, and I mean, I know this episode we talked about top reasons that divorces occur in marriages, but fight for your marriage. Obviously you got married to someone for a reason, and I do think it's legitimate that as people grow older together, they differ in their beliefs and how they view things. So you might be married to a person that's not the person you married initially when you married. So I think it's important to understand who that person is at age 41, 42, whatever, because if you marry that person at 35, you marry that person at 21, you marry that person at 19, that person could be vastly different than who they were when you married them. So if you love them enough from what you initially fell in love with, sometimes you still have to do the work in your marriage to make sure you can prosper another 10, 15, and 20 years. That's my nugget.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think something that has worked in our favor is that we actually grew together. I think that worked in our favor.
But you're different now, and I'm different now.
We're
too.
both
Yeah.
different, but when you're growing together versus like if someone was to meet me at my big age, like dating wouldn't be successful for me. I know all
So you irky bait.
I know how I am. I'm a Libra. I'm up and down. I need my space. I need my time to just read, and that's my passion. I love reading. I just need some quiet time, but it doesn't mean anything is wrong.
Yeah, your introvert game is at another level.
Yeah.
If somebody don't know that.
Yeah, but that's something that you have grown to love about me because we have communicated that. Like you'll be like, babe, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing is wrong.
Yeah, it was just more so when we was younger. It was like when we go to events, it's like, babe, I need you to communicate, because you don't like everybody. You have to grow and you have trust issues, So it was more so like, hey, we going to this event. I need your A game on. And you was a champion about it, but as we've gotten wiser, I definitely understand it. I appreciate it that you being introverted. And I love that.
So listen, right here, they also list far as lack of commitment.
You living and dying by this list.
Yeah, because it's interesting.
And you keep going at lack of commitment.
No, because it's just like lack of commitment is broad, but it's interesting because originally when they said number one, they said 75% of marriages. That's a big chunk. Because of lack of commitment. So I had to dig deeper, like lack of commitment.
This might be a part two.
So it says hesitation to be vulnerable. So that is a big one.
We should break all of these down. I think
you want to do a part two?
I think it's a bit much. Like if you're going to divorce somebody because they don't want to go to the I'm in the insurance industry. If you're willing to leave somebody because they don't want to go to the life insurance meeting or see the financial advisor, like that's a bit much.
No,
that's a bit much.
No, it's not just that. Lack of commitment could just it shows up different ways. Yeah, that's an example. That's a actionable situation that you can point to. But if somebody lacks commitment, and remember Russell West. I keep messing up the
Not
name.
Russell Westbrook. Russell Wilson.
He had this in his top 5. You know, somebody that is a committed person. But when you're uncommitted, it shows up at different things. You may cancel an appointment. You may cancel a date. You know, it just shows up in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
You see that? You see that? So I know for you, one of the things I love about you, you are very committed. I even have a nickname for you. I call you SOP. Yep. Standard operating procedures.
Right.
You are going to show up. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it.
Done. Yeah.
You never cancel.
Right.
Your follow through game is unprecedented, and that's something that I love about you. You will never cancel. You will never fold. It's just like, oh, we doing it. Even if you don't want to do it, even if somebody piss you off, we doing it because I already said I was going to do it.
And I get it from that part. I guess I'm having a hard time understanding with the lack of commitment. It's just, like I said, it seems like infidelity. So I'm not committed to my wife, but you're more speaking about like actionable items, consistently showing up every day. Like you said you're going to do this, you didn't do this. We're supposed to be here, you're not going to do this. So I still think that kind of leads to like a lack of interest, because if you don't have interest in someone, why would I follow through? Why would I show up for this? Why would I care how you feeling? Why it's to me, but
when you love someone, you do things that you don't want to do. You know, you may not like your mother-in-law, but you're going to show up because you're committed to the son.
Right. You sound like you're speaking from a personal space.
That's the first thing that just popped up about it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think we could have another episode about lack of commitment and break that down even further.
Okay. Well, we're at that time, so we're gonna close out. What you got for us?
I gave my nugget already.
That's
it. Stick it through. People grow wiser. They get different. Okay. Make sure you understand that person at every age.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining in for Love, Marriage, and Everything in Between, Countertop Talk, and we will see you next week. Be safe. What do I say? Be safe?
I don't know what you say, babe. You say different things. What you want to say? What do you want to say?
Be blessed and be safe. Be blessed and be safe.
There it is.
Be blessed and be safe. Be blessed and be safe.
Countertop Talk.
She wants some Marvin Gaye, some Luther Vandross, a little Anita, but definitely set this party off.